Welcome to The Project, where we find a topic and we put some action to it. I'm your host, Pete Pusick, and today the hot topic is freedom of speech. How important is it to everybody? Now, for those of us who are having a little bit of hard time remembering back to the 8th grade, let's have a quick reminder.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Now, before we get too far, as always, my disclaimer. This is based on opinion, and everybody's entitled to their own independent opinion. And those opinions are protected by the First Amendment. Without the First Amendment properly in place, our opinions could tend to be skewed. But let's remember, treat everybody's opinion and everybody else with the same respect that you yourself would want to be treated. Now that we've had a refresher that our opinions and our free speech is a First Amendment right, and we've also had our disclaimer, let's see what everybody else has to say about freedom of speech.
To me, freedom of speech means being able to express my opinions or my beliefs without having the fear that I'm going to get penalized for it or receive unnecessary backlash.
I think freedom of speech is being able to have an opinion and being entitled to that opinion, but also knowing when it's not appropriate to express that opinion.
Freedom of speech means to me that you are able to voice your opinion or what you believe without being judged based off of your color, your race, your gender, or your age.
Freedom of speech to me means being able to express what you believe in and how you feel without feeling judged by others.
This project takes us a different direction. Allow me to introduce Professor Mariah Moore, PhD. She is an instructor at Illinois State University teaching communication law. She has an excellent way to convey to her students the importance of the First Amendment and their free speech.
The project is intended for them to truly have a profound, meaningful experience in free speech, because many of them never have. And until you empower yourself with substantive understanding about a topic so that you can talk about it with meaning, and then put yourself out there for others to react to, you really don't understand free speech. It's hypothetical, it's in your mind. You say, oh yes, I value free speech. But until you actually use it in a civically engaged way, I don't think you really understand what it takes to both put yourself at risk and to know you are protected in doing so.
I took some time to get in contact with some students that were directly associated with this project. Meet Jeff, a politically motivated individual who takes his free speech very seriously.
My topic's on tellthetruth.org 2016. So it's a campaign that was started by the Media Research Center, and what it does is to expose the liberal bias in the mass media. They do this through a series of different things, mostly grassroots events. They also have their poster all over campaign rallies, and most people don't really understand what it is, but if they see a poster that says "Don't believe the liberal media," that is actually a poster that are produced by the Media Research Center.
Meet Derek, an individual whose opinion and understanding of free speech grew as a direct result not only of his class with Professor Moore, but also this project of free speech.
I did Black Lives Matter. I chose it because I feel like it was a topic that expresses free speech in the purest sense. Just saying Black Lives Matter it's just exercising your free speech, knowing what it could cause, or the commotion that it could cause.
Meet Jean, an empowered black female who picked up quite a few life lessons and things that she could apply to herself personally through the execution of Project Free Speech.
The topic was about Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. And so we just went out onto the quad during a really busy time when people were leaving their classes, because we knew we could get a few more people that way. and we were just asking them which opinion or which statement that they agree with and which one offended them or rubbed them the wrong way.
And meet Laura, teaching assistant to Professor Moore, who participated in this project when she was a student taking communication law.
Well, basically before I did the project, I never utilized free speech. I basically always just went with the flow, and I didn't really speak out against anything. After I did the project, I realized that things that I'm really passionate about are things that I can change using free speech. And so even though it was really scary, it was really rewarding.
Now, with a project of this magnitude, Professor Moore says that there are always goals that you have to have in mind. She took the time to outline those for us.
One of the components of the project is a paper where they have to research the project. And one of the components of that is they have to research others' points of view. I hope that students leave this project knowing how empowering it is to have empathy for those who think differently, and how knowing why and what others think about a controversial topic gives you a good foundation for understanding your own position.
I did. Because we got at least like 4 people who were for All Lives Matter. So we got 4 different opinions and perspectives on why they felt that way. So just really taking those things in and listening to it, I was like, okay, I can kind of understand it. But some of them didn't really give like full answers. They were just like, all lives matter because all lives matter. And so that's when I was just like, well, do you have any other reason for, because everyone who said all lives matter said that they disagreed with Black Lives Matter, but they didn't necessarily have a reason why. And so, we were, just pushing for those questions, what is your reason why? We're not asking this, we just really want to know, if you disagree with this statement, why do you disagree with it? And they're like, well, just because all lives matter. So that didn't necessarily give me a way to really dig deep into their side of things and to really connect with them on that empathetic level. But for the most part, I could sense their discomfort with the topic. And so I think that was another reason why they didn't really go in too much depth with their answers. But I could see why they felt that way. They felt like Black Lives Matter just meant that no one else mattered. F everyone else, no one else matters. And that's how they took it. And it's all about perception. Perception equals reality. The way you perceive things is the way that you think that they are. And so if we give them a different way to perceive things, maybe that can help them, or help their perception or reality of things. Because I feel like the movement wasn't started to say, no one else matters. And maybe the All Lives Matter movement wasn't started to say, let's discredit Black Lives Matter. And so it just allowed me to kind of really see the extremes and the common ground for both things.
There's not a good understanding of the movement, or they're saying Black Lives Matter. It's not a clear understanding. And I feel like if everybody knows the intentions of Black Lives Matter, why it was started, who it's for, and what it stands for, I think they would people who says all lives matter would kind of backtrack and say, okay, I get it now. I get it why they say Black Lives Matter with the rising tension of police brutality. Even though all races experience police brutality, but it happens in Black communities more than any other Aztec community. So just doing the research, I got that. Not a lot of people understand where the movement started from and why the movement was started. That's what the research presented to me. But I do believe all lives matter. I do believe that.
This project had such a meaningful impact on many of its participants to a point where they would be willing to participate in another project of free speech.
Reflection in the human mind does the same thing. You have the experience, you have the who, what, and when, where, why, how of it, and it's meaningful to you, but it's only after the fact, after you've let it kind of percolate or marinate in your brain and in your heart, that you really understand what it meant. And it is a privilege to read the reflection essays that students write about this project. I get many who say, don't ever lose this. I was so scared going in. I had no idea what I was going to do. I've never done anything like this. I was cursing you, thinking this terrible teacher's making me do this project. But now that I think about it, you should make sure that every student in your future has this opportunity too.
If it is a salient issue and I believe it's important enough to where I should be vocal about it, then I'm gonna use my First Amendment right to do so.
Yes, I do. I see myself participating in more free speech acts.
I think it's something that I will always now be more open to. If somewhere down the road I have kids and there's something wrong at their school, maybe I'd be less afraid to go out to a PTA meeting and say, hey, this is what's going on, sign this petition, something like this. It's not just for now, it's for always. Use what you're learning in this class to make a difference somewhere down the road. Use what you're doing now to, make a difference here on campus. It's not something that goes away once you learn it.
I do. Honestly, I do, and I would love to get in contact with different RSOs on campus and kind of spark those discussions and just have a 30-minute discussion with them, and where we can just throw ideas around at one another and just learn from one another. Just sit around and say, hey, why do you feel that way? Hey, well, why don't you feel this way?
Students go to some really interesting places in the reflection essays of how they learn some pretty important, provocative things about themselves. The experience can be very empowering. Now, that's not true for everybody. There's some students who do this just for their grade, and I can tell when I read their essay that they were on the surface of the experience, and that's okay. Whatever the student wants out of this project is just fine. It's okay. But the majority really treat this project seriously.
Your voice can do a lot. Just voicing your opinion can make a change. And if we don't exercise our free speech, we could be missing out on an opportunity of doing something great. And just getting a better understanding on how the First Amendment acts, what it protects us against, it made me realize that, free, my speech, my opinions and everything, they're important, and they can change, and they can make and they can do good, to say the least.
The First Amendment is the foundation for everything we do in common law.
I've always valued the First Amendment as being the most important of them all, and the framers of the Constitution wouldn't have made it the First Amendment if it wasn't the most important.
I really saw the need for it, because I participated in other people's free speech projects, and those are some things that I wouldn't have done otherwise. And so it was just really good to see people being very passionate about what they, cared about, because otherwise, they wouldn't have gone out on campus and done that. And then you do have other acts of free speech on campus that are really cool. There are people who pass out vegetarian and vegan pamphlets, and they talk to you about animal cruelty, and they're very passionate about those things. And so I feel if you can at least reach one person with the thing that you do, then that's more than enough. And I felt like we were at least able to reach one person. And so it gives you a greater appreciation, because it felt like you've done something, to help someone else. And in all honesty, they did something to help us, because they gave us their perspectives and their opinions on things, and they helped us learn and they helped us grow. Even if they gave us short answers, it still helped us grow. It helped us learn, because we were able to really understand where they were coming from. And so the learning experience from this Free Speech Act is something that I really appreciated.
I hope the same thing that I realized, that they can go out and make a difference. They don't actually have to go out and change anything per se, but just getting out a message that you're passionate about is something that I hope they realize they're capable of doing, especially on a college campus. If you're going to change something, now's the time to do it.
So there you have it. Free speech is important to many people for many different ways. For me personally, my opinions continue to change as I gain more information. I'm not so arrogant to believe that I have all the information and that I can always make the right decision. But I do continue to gather information and knowledge so that I can make an educated decision based on the information that's available.
It comes down to, what you love. If you want to make a difference, then the fear is kind of a motivator instead of an inhibitor. Use that fear. Go out and make a change with it. Go out and be scared in front of people. It kind of, motivates them to change too. It says, oh, this person's okay going out and doing something different. Maybe I can too. Don't let it hold you back.
The truth be told, I also participated in Project Free Speech with Professor Moore. But my project took a bit of a different track after sitting in her final lecture.
If not now, meaning you're in college, what do you have to risk? It is a low-risk experience. If not now, when are you ever going to explore this capacity to put yourself out there in a controversial way and take a position and try and convince others that you're right?
Without the freedom of speech, we wouldn't have politics, we wouldn't have news, teachers, or anything that has to do with expressing a personal, unique, individual opinion. I learned many things about the freedom of speech throughout this course with Professor Moore. This information will stay with me and continue to go with me throughout the rest of my life and assist me not only in everyday life, but also in my career. I would like to say a quick thank you to all those who participated in this project. I'd also like to extend a special thanks to all who assisted me in putting this project together for my presentation. A special quick thank you to Professor Mariah Moore for making this class interesting and giving us an opportunity to step outside of our comfort zone. For the project, I'm Pete Pusick. Good night.